Steve from Dave's Glory Shopworks here, and we are continuing our build on our cheap 440. So far so good. We haven't broken the bank yet, but I haven't brought the totals into play yet, so cross fingers. Anyway, on this episode, nice, short, and sweet, we're going to slide in the camshaft and set up the timing chain and gears. Alright, so we have our camshaft. Ooh, what do we do with our camshaft? Well, we have to lubricate all the journals, or all the lobes, and all the bearing journals. Also, we have to lubricate our distributor drive gear and our fuel pump eccentric. From there, we can slide it in just like you saw me do on an earlier episode. Here goes. So I'm using regular assembly grease on the journals. Make sure everything stays good and coated. This stuff's nice and sticky. Alright, that'll be enough for the moment. Now for the lobes, we are going to use the Camshaft lubricant that came with it. Camshaft's Pro Cam and Lifter lubricant. And just start gooing it on. Nothing crazy, it will run on you. So a little bit goes on, run it all over the lobes. Make sure you don't miss any spots. Grab a little bit more, and this is a gooey job. Wear gloves if you want to, whichever, whatever makes you feel good. It's almost like a molassesy texture to it, so it really clings to the lobes as you go, and that's going to make for good adhesion while the lifters are starting to roll around, especially when you fire it up and you start your break-in procedure. You're going to want this stuff to stick around for a little while, at least until the oil starts flowing to it. Alright, now we got our super expensive, one-of-a-kind camshaft installation tool, aka a bolt. And we're going to finish our last two journals, bearings. And our fuel pump eccentric, get that all gooed in nicely. And then I'm going to use the assembly lube as well on the gear. You could use the camshaft braking oil, it's not really going to make a difference. But here we go, gently relaxed and feeling for the center of the bore as you start putting the camshaft in. With it lubed up, there's a lot less chance of you nicking a bearing, but always be cautious. Better safe than sorry. You don't want to have your engine 3/4 assembled, put your camshaft in, and then rip the side off of a bearing, because that'll just be for a bad day all the way around. There we go, she's in place. And take our bolt out. Try to clean the hands off a little bit. Now, something else actually. We're going to add a little bit of assembly grease to this surface right here. It's sort of a thrust surface and allows lubrication around, just so nothing hits up against the, well, anywhere's metal to metal, right? Once the oil pressure gets around it, you're good to go. So now, some of you are going to freak out about this. Single row timing chain and gears. This is a Chloe's kit, and I'm quite happy to use it. Everybody's going to say, you should be running a double roller. And you know what? Overall, sure. But this is a cheap 440 build. These are brand new parts. And they will hold up. Just think about it. What was in these things from the factory? Single roller. And they were a nylon gear on an aluminum hub. I mean, seriously, guys. Worried about a nice, robust chain and gear made out of metal versus the old nylon stuff. Remember all the 350 Chevys and such that would wear a hole through the side of the timing cover? Alright, now rotate our cam a little bit. Just try to get everything all sort of kind of lined up all at once. There we go. Make sure our gear is all the way on, which it is. Next thing up, I'm using a brand new grade 8 bolt and some blue thread locker on my camshaft bolt, retainer bolt. Reason being, these things have been known to back off in the past with the single bolt setup here. And yeah, so there is actually an upgrade. There's a 3-bolt setup, and then if you're running a roller cam, you got to run the button for thrust end plate. But we're keeping it simple. I have no worries about this timing chain and gears lasting for what I'm doing right now. And in the end of the day, I'm going to be replacing this camshaft in a year or two with something a little more robust, a little more lift and duration. So we ain't overstressing the valve train. We're not putting piles of strain on everything here. So this single roll chain and gears will last for a long time if I wanted to. And that's all there is to it, really. Now, so we take our 5/8 socket, and I've checked what my torque is supposed to be. It's supposed to be 35 foot-pounds. And we're just going to snug it until this thing starts to turn. Oh, there we go, 35 foot-pounds. Check a couple times, good. And then I like to shove some more assembly lube on my gears. Kind of helps the chains. They got to have a little bit of lubrication too, and they don't get it till this thing starts to fire up. So there's no point in firing this thing up completely dry like that. Add a little wear and tear. Anyway, that'll take care of that. It doesn't got to be a crazy amount, just enough to know you got some lube on her. And as you spin it around in your last little while you're doing stuff, you'll be mashing that around into the gears. Next up, just gonna rotate this thing around a little bit. Feels good. I'm checking to feel there's any hard spots. It's moving at a pretty consistent tension. And then we're just going to bring it back to top dead center number 1. Which is when both dots on the timing marks are lined up close to each other. And there's our piston. We got a nice little bit of protrusion. Can you say compression ratio? Well guys, that's it in a nutshell. Camshaft is in. All my pistons are in. I showed you guys the one, and I went ahead and did the others. The only other things I've done off camera is I installed the rear camshaft plug, and there was 4 of these gallery plugs that I installed as well. One right in here, one right behind the cam, and then the 2 on the back. And that's her. So stay tuned for our next video. We're probably going to be installing the oil pan and pickup. We'll go over how to measure all that stuff, and from there we're looking at soaking our lifters and all that jazz, one thing after another. It's coming close. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care.